All right, let's just jump right into it. Today, I'm putting on my professional coach hat to tackle one of the absolute most intimidating leaps you're going to make when starting a business. In this explainer, we're drawing straight from Jonathan Reed's book, Start a Business from Zero. Build skills, change behavior, create stability. Look, you've got a great foundation. You've picked a customer, you've identified a problem, but, well, honestly, it's completely incomplete. Today is all about bridging that gap. We're shifting from internal guessing to external learning so we can discover what those true customer problems actually are. Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to ask yourself honestly right now, are you building your ideas completely in isolation? It's so tempting to just stay in your room mapping things out on a whiteboard. It feels incredibly safe, right? But here's the thing. Building in isolation is just looking at a map. A map sounds like, well, I assume my customer wants this feature. But the terrain? The terrain sounds like my customer literally just told me they are actively frustrated by this exact workflow. To really know what you're doing, you absolutely have to step out and walk the terrain. You need that direct contact with reality. And making this shift, it changes absolutely everything. The exact moment you start talking to your target audience, your project stops being this abstract internal exercise. It becomes a living, dynamic conversation with the real world. You're trading safe internal research for real voices, real language, and real lived experiences. It's a major and honestly empowering shift because you finally stop asking, what do I think people need? And start asking, what have I actually heard? Now, what's really interesting about this is the psychological trap that catches almost every single beginner. It's called the illusion of understanding. When you spend hours, sometimes days or weeks, researching and thinking about a problem, your brain kind of tricks you into feeling like you truly know the customer. But cognitive psychology tells us that without direct, corrective feedback from the outside world, we tend to just reinforce our own existing beliefs. We're basically looking into a mirror and seeing our own ideas reflected back instead of opening a window. Later on, we'll see exactly how active listening is the only hammer big enough to shatter this illusion. To actually break that illusion, you've got to step off the map and onto the terrain. The map is your research, your assumptions. It's neat, it's tidy, and it's totally predictable. But conversations? Conversations are the terrain. They reveal the uneven ground, the hidden obstacles, and those surprising shortcuts that you could never, ever see from a distance. Walking the terrain means giving up control of the answers. You might hear things that completely challenge your assumptions, and honestly, that is exactly why you have to do it. Let's be real for a second, though. If walking the terrain is so incredibly valuable, why do we all avoid it? Well, it's because talking to strangers introduces unpredictability. It feels awkward. It feels exposing. You might be sitting there worrying, what if I sound unprepared? Or what if I ask the wrong questions? Your brain recognizes this unpredictability as a social risk. So to overcome this internal block before your very first conversation, you have to reframe the goal. You are not pitching a product. Pitching invites judgment. Instead, you're just acting like a curious journalist gathering facts. Lower the stakes and you lower the fear. And hey, if the mere thought of interviewing potential customers makes you break into a sweat, I want you to remember this point. Studies using fMRI scans actually show that perceived social judgment lights up the exact same neural pathways in our brains as physical pain. Let that sink in. So when that discomfort hits as you approach a stranger, just acknowledge it. Take a deep breath and remind yourself, that's not weakness. That is literally your biology trying to keep you safe from social rejection. Acknowledge the alarm bell and then step forward anyway. So the crucial point is how we actually conduct these conversations. A massive beginner trap is turning a conversation into a sneaky sales pitch by asking leading questions. So how do you avoid this trap? You have to catch yourself. If a question starts with would you, do you, or is it, you're forcing a yes or no answer. You're leading them. Instead, rely on the W's and H. Ask things like, how do you currently manage your tasks? Or what is the most difficult part about your workflow? Remember, you aren't there to convince anyone. You are there to understand. These 5 open-ended questions right here, they are your golden keys. Notice how absolutely none of them can be answered with a simple yes or no. Questions like, what is a typical day like for you? Or what have you tried so far? Now, remember, as your coach, I'm telling you, these aren't just for stiff formal interviews. These are open questions you can naturally weave into your daily, casual customer conversations. You do not need to read these rigidly like a robot. Just aim for genuine curiosity, not perfection, and let the conversation flow naturally. There is massive, massive value in asking about past behaviors rather than hypothetical futures. That's how you uncover factual needs. Instead of asking something vague like, what would you pay for? Ask,
Walk me through the exact steps you took last Tuesday to handle this issue. Or even better, tell me about the last time you spent money trying to fix this. Because if someone has attempted to solve a problem 3 different ways and failed, that signals genuine pain. It perfectly highlights exactly where current market solutions are dropping the ball.
So why do we avoid the future tense so strictly? It's because of the intention-behavior gap. Behavioral science proves time and time again that human beings are just terrible at predicting what they will actually do in the future. If you ask a hypothetical question like, would you buy this feature? People naturally give optimistic, socially acceptable answers. They want to encourage you, they want to be nice. But listen to me on this. Nice data is dangerous data. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how to bypass those polite assurances to get honest opinions. You have to force the conversation out of the hypothetical. Politeness lives in opinions about the future. Truth lives in detailed descriptions of the past. So if someone says, oh yeah, I totally use that, immediately follow up with, interesting, can you show me exactly how you're solving that problem right now? By shifting right back to descriptions of current behavior, you start gathering meaningful, concrete data. This is exactly how you shatter that illusion of understanding we talked about earlier. But gathering that meaningful data requires intense, active listening. You have to completely suspend your desire to be right and replace it with a burning desire to learn. Use specific active listening techniques. For example, leave a full 3-second pause after they finish speaking to let them fill the void with deeper truths. Catch their emotional signals by mirroring their tone. If they sound frustrated, explicitly acknowledge that frustration. Basically, listen without an agenda. And as you listen, you need to record their exact emotional phrases. A really simple way to do this? Physically put quotation marks in your notebook when they say something emotional, or write sigh in brackets when their body language physically shifts. When someone sighs and says, I waste so much time trying to figure this out, write that down verbatim. Don't paraphrase it. This shifts your understanding to experiential empathy. And let me tell you, later on, reflecting these exact words back in your marketing is absolute communication gold. Let's move to the next step and see how this builds. As your coach, here is how we actually translate all this messy data into real solutions. Let's say you've had 10 real conversations. Now, put your analyst hat on. Look for consistent patterns across multiple people. Do they share the exact same struggles? If 5 different people use the exact same frustrated phrase to describe a workflow, you don't just have a shared problem, you literally have the headline for your future landing page. This is exactly how you prove market demand, rather than just capturing one person's personal quirk. If you take absolutely nothing else away from this explainer, I want you to burn this one sentence into your mind. Real understanding begins when you stop guessing and start listening. Look, successful businesses are not built from clever ideas dreamed up in a vacuum. They are built from a deep, grounded understanding of real people. You don't need to be some perfectly articulate expert to do this. You just need to be curious, you need to be present, and you need to be willing to actually listen to the terrain. So, what does this all mean for you? Here is my behavioral challenge to you as your coach today. Because let's face it, knowledge without action is just entertainment. Within the next 72 hours, I want you to have at least 3 real, informal conversations with people in your target group. Use those open-ended questions, listen completely without an agenda, write down their exact emotional phrases. Who are those 3 people going to be? Think about it. What happens if you spend the next year building something nobody actually wants? Don't let that happen. Get out there and start listening.